Do you have?
No.
Yeah.
No, we
Just the Amitayus.
I have it, thank you.
Oh, yes.
Oh, in there, I'll take that.
That's
So
all.
it doesn't get that.
Right.
Okay. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Making sure it's working. Okay. Opening prayers, please. Altruistic motivation. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in a state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in a state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. Daglatam Varje Dano Varje Vege Dharvadatam Je Jembe Badu Je Paraje Batam Je Giso Jebe Anam Katanyam Bisim Chentam Je Devatam Deve Judatam Dula Me Bayanda Brazo Bechan Churim Boche Tobraja. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds of body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds of body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds of body, speech, and mind. Tu samaje ki badu le ma ye songe wala ko ma she badu le ma ye songe wala ko ye tere ne zonte ye ma son da zong ye badu We take refuge in the kind Lama and lineage Lama. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eyes of wisdom. We take refuge in the kind root and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Ilhams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Transcend Sawadan Dubrajebe Baden Lama Tamba Nam La Jasu Jiu Yedam Jigura Jila So Nam La Jasu Jiu Sangye Chom Den De Nam La Gyasu Jiu Nam Be Che Nam La Jasu Jiu Ba Be Gen De Nam La Jasu Jiu Ba Wo Kan Do Ju Jong Su Me So Ye She Ge Chen Da Den Ba Nam La Gyasu Jiu. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embrace the enlightened mind and progress on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. Shangchu Ning Burji Geba Sanje Nam La Japsu Chi Chodan Chanchu Senpa Yi Solan Deshin Japsu Chi Chetar Manje Deshe Chi Chanchu Tuni Keba Chanchu Sembe La Bala Dairen Shen Eba Do Lai Pendant Chanchu Sene Jegi Dejen Tene La Bala Remba Jindu La Praji. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Sangye Shodan Sogi Chonan La Chanchu Bardun Dhamni Gyatsu Chi Dagi Jin So Jibe Sonan Ji Drolai Penchu Sangye Jubasho. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Anam Kadainam Visam Chintam Shedevadam Deve Judandam Vachuchi Dunyadan Dunaki Judan Vachuchi Dunyame Bedevadam Vachuchi Nering Chadani Danta Vetanyola Nepachuchi. And the 100 syllable mantra, Vajrasattva. Can we recite one time in English, please, and then 3 times in the Sanskrit? So it's on in your book. What page is it?
8 in the,
Okay.
24 in this yellow book.
24 in the yellow book. Okay. Om Vajrasattva Samaya. Help to protect my vow to purify myself. May you remain firm with me. Grant me the complete satisfaction. Grow with me. Be loving towards me. Grant me the attainments to master the powers beyond body and nature. Show me all the deeds of the body, speech, and mind. Make my mind, heart good, virtuous, and auspicious. Revel in the bliss of the 4 joys of the Blessed One, who embodies the essence within me. Do not abandon me. Grant me the realizations of the indestructible nature. Make me one with you. Thus I signify my unity with non-duality. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatisha Me Bhava Sudhokayo Me Bhava Subhokayo Me Bhava Anirato Me Bhava Sarva Siddhi Me Prayasa Sarva Karma Sutsame Tsitan Shriya Kuru Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramami Mansa Vajramava Mahasamaya Sattva Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatisha Me Bhava Sudhokayo Me Bhava Subhokayo Me Bhava Anurato Me Bhava Sarva Siddhi Me Prayasa Sarva Karma Sutsame Tsitan Shriya Kuru Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramami Mansa Vajramava Mahasamaya Sattva Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubalaya Vajrasattva Tenopatisha Me Bhava Sudhokayo Me Bhava Subhokayo Me Bhava Anurato Me Bhava Sarva Siddhi Me Prayasa Sarva Karma
Sutame Siddhan Shriya Guru Aho Bhagavan Sarvatathagata Brahmamhimsa Pandra Bhava Maha Samaya Sato.
Then the next is the 7-limb prayer. So depending on which book you have.
22.
You try 22 in the yellow book, or 10 in the brown book. I bow down respectfully with my body, speech, and faithful mind to all the Tathagatas in the 10 directions, those who have already reached the Tathagata state, those who are reaching in the present, and those Tathagatas still to come. Through the power of Samantabhadra's prayers, may all Buddhas manifest vividly in my mind. I prostrate to them, multiplying my body as many times as there are atoms of the earth. In each atom, I visualize as many Buddhas as there are atoms, surrounded by countless bodhisattvas. Thus, all space is filled with Buddhas and bodhisattvas. I praise all Buddhas through magnificent chanting, expressing the great ocean of their excellent qualities. To all Buddhas I make offerings of arrays of pure flowers, flower gardens, and anointing oils, magnificent light, and fragrant incense. I make offering to them of fine garments, perfumes, and potpourri, held high as Mount Meru, and arranged in the most beautiful way. I visualize the highest and the most extensive offerings, and offer them prayed away to the Buddhas. I prostrate to the Buddhas to make offering to them, following the deeds of the great Bodhisattvas of Samantabhadra. I confess to all the Buddhas whatever negative actions I've done due to the powers and the desires of ignorance. I rejoice merit of all Buddhas in 10 directions, of the great Bodhisattvas and the Pratyeka Buddhas, those who have attained authorship, those who have attained the path of authorship, and all the other beings. I request to all the great protectors of the Buddhas to turn the highest wheel of Dharma as the light dispelling the darkness of the being in the 10 directions, and leading them gradually in the enlightened state, and supplicate those Buddhas intending to pass into Nirvana, that they live long for as many eons as they are atoms of the earth, in order to benefit all beings. Whatever merit I am gathering through prostrations, offerings, confessions, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate. Next is the very short mandala offering. I believe it's on page 26 in the yellow book. It's not going to be in the book that you have. It's in the yellow book. Oh, you do have it? Yeah. Excuse me, okay. The ground is sprinkled in scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with meadows, the supreme mountain, the 4 continents, and the sun and moon. As a Buddha field I offer it. May all sentient beings attain to happiness of the Buddha fields. Sashi Pucha Joje Medotam Rirai Lenshi Nyede Jembandi Sangye Shenla Mede Powayi Drogenamda Shindu Jevarashur. Right below that is the request for teaching. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the 2 vehicles and their combination, according to the dispositions and likewise the mental capacities of sentient beings. Samchan Namji Sambhada Loye Cheta Chetawa
che chon te mo te pai, che ki ko lo kro du so. No, Lama Jano, Lama Jano, Lama Jano, Tinjin Saga, Lama Jano, Bade, Lama Gujo, Ansada, Wakaji, Yonji Sochi. Dove de Bandambe, Lamdon, Tojin, Abda, Jave, Jatsa, Kadin, Dada, Damba, Dami, Dorjin, Chawan, Bondi, Gumba, Origin, Dorjin, Chanjin, Bojin, Cheno. So and the so to Jesus, and Jelation, Mudu Nanya, Dada, Soja, Tenji, and Deva, Sochi, Namona, Namda, Lamal. Nasi Shishin, so Chabamba, comes on yonder, the so and the Kawa, Nondo, so Singelo, Jishin, no, so good. Masan Jimmy Javeto, Jimmy Shinga, Dan, Sevet, Daniga, Denjin, Doa, Jimzer, and Boche, the Simnijin, and so on. Chuni Jingando Sinja Simdone Chime Namdande Londe Chogo Dobra Sinja Lo Nangwada Nyambe Simje Tamje Lo Chuzon Dobra Sinja Labdoso Chulamdon Dobra Sinja Labdos Lantruba Savra Sinja Labdos Tuna Yishi Zanjavra Sinja Labdoso Vasa Saja Chimbon Chogan Udo Dobra Sinja Labdoso Anjo Dene Shindo Nibarka Chivo Tendu Tobra Chubala Kaden de la Pemba Madonna Sandayanda Jova Kalanjo Gaji Jamada Javala Chuji Dinja Savyajan Zubrada Chujenja Zunji Ramola Kalo de Shindu Kamindosum Yure Mada Chavarangaja Tabanyo Dodo Nimane Beto Sojindo Mada Paran Dongaja Lila Nyamle Bonla Sindre Tabo Mejen Bora Sende Mada Tunge Tindanda Dova Jeje Kala Dadan Son Dove Sena Namge Londa De Rezamba Cheve Janyon Jondo Tuje Narde Jabun Dojona Longjon Zada Nishi Jimen Chiwa Tende Kata Kandoya Lende Tima Shindo Jison Dang Rido Korbe Dunge De Samna Nilon Thago Dung Baba Modive Shaolande Samda Ninja Dabola Jimbi Je Chudo Machen Tumla Me Warche Menjongwe Semhundun Dela Nenden Zo Gangli Lagwe Jabola Yenjur Meje Tensa Mazena Makandun Kunpa Mindu Liyadamje Lala Nenden Zo Lama Guje Khanrela Mege Nyama Mashana Salabje Chuje Menjongwe Semege Dela Nenden Zo Senyeje Nangpayang Bola Namdo ke tinzo ma tena chinyi je sakara mitrawe samedon de la nintenzo sonyi jinji no wala malum je sedro mazen Gondu jen tewe menjo we jengo wan de la nintenzo jawa kondo yanda lama dan dami chuje bala long ju jen sada lam je yende rabzon Dorje change gomba nyor to sho sanjo simjo rinpo che ma je vanam jijre che che ba nyamba me bai kong ne kong do me wa sho. Okay, so good morning everybody, welcome. I thought maybe first I'm going to read this transmission, the Amitayus Sutra, okay, which has a Tibetan text is 35 pages there. Also, this is the sutras in Amitayus. So I usually recite myself, and also I have a wonderful practice as well. So I'm going to give you this transmission, reading transmissions. So then we'll talk about a little bit about the mantras. So you all needed to meditate, as you know, the real. I mean, there's many different types of practices. Okay, that's so every practice is wonderful. There's nothing wrong. Each has a wonderful practice, whether we're reciting mantra whether we visualizing different practices or whether we do different things, forms are there. But the real practice is meditation. You know, the really actual practice is meditation. Meditation itself is practice of accumulation, all the merits. The practice of meditation is the best offering for the Buddha, Dharma, for the living beings. And the practice meditation is the real dealing with our, which we just do not like to have, negative emotions, the purifications, like meditation itself is the purification. So therefore, meditation has a different forms. Yesterday we talked about, but in a different lineages, like Milarepa lineage, Kajupa, the blessing lineage. Now today you meditate as we did yesterday, Amitayus. As much visualizing yourself as Amitayus, you know, including all the details as possible, oneself as Amitayus. So then Amitayus is not just Amitayus. The true nature of Amitayus is Dharmakaya, the ultimate truth of Buddha. Ultimate truth of the Buddha is what? Our own mind and heart is real ultimate Buddha. There's no separable. From that ultimate Buddha is manifest form of, in order to benefit living being, form of Buddha Amitayus as a enjoyment body, which remains forever, always continue, non-stop, continue benefiting living beings. Then from form of the enjoyment body, from there, the manifest form of the Nirmanakaya, the emanation body. So those all the different enlightenment body is going back to the in the reality life is our own self, which is our body is the form of the Nirmanakaya, the ultimate nature. Our speech nature, the true nature form is Sambhokaya, the enjoyment body. Our heart and mind and ultimate nature is truth body, Dharmakaya. There's no separable as pure to understanding the purity nature. And ordinary, what we call our body, is the body, the space, the mind. Then our body has this channel wind drops. The channel represents the Nirmanakaya body. Okay. The wind, the ultimate wind, the subtle wind represents the Sambhokaya body, enjoyment body. The originally come from that energies. Then Dharmakaya body is the drop, the thigle. So that's inseparable. The real thigle is inseparable of our own awareness, which is we call consciousness, the mind, the awareness, the wisdom. Okay. Also, therefore, is not separable. All the back. What I'm trying to say is, even the Amitaya is outside form of Amitayus Buddha, but the inseparable nature of Amitayus is all the lineage root and the lineage masters, inseparable nature. Amitayus is the Buddha. Amitayus is the speech. The form is external Buddha. The mantra of Amitayus is the Dharma, the speech. Amitayus heart is inseparable of the Buddha. So therefore, Buddha Dharma Sangha is not separable from Amitayus. So as a general Buddha Dharma, in the Vajrayana or Buddha Dharma Sangha is the Lama, the master, the lead and the lineage master is Amitayus. Or the Dharma, the teaching of the Vajrayana is the Amitayus. There's no doubt separable, which is usually called the Yidam in the Dharma, deity yoga, including Chakra Samvara, Vajrayoginis, and so forth. And the Sangha, all the Dhakas and the Dhakinis is inseparable in the Vajrayana. It's called the three root, Lama, Yidam, Khando, the Guru, the deity yoga, and the Dhakas and the Dhakinis. There are three root. It's called the three triple gem in the Vajrayana, which is inseparable of the Amitayus. So that's what I'm trying to say. When we do Vajrasattva, Amitayus, there's no separable actually. Everyone is one essence. So therefore, meditating Amitayus oneself, and I'm going to read this, the Sutra of Buddha Amitayus as transmissions. Okay, so then the transmission time, most important part, as visualizing yourself with the Amitayus, most time its important part is visualizing listening the sound is so important. So sound without disturbance, the focus into the sound. And so sound is not the sound. Sound is the manifest to all the alphabet of the Buddha, the alphabet of the Kakagagama, the mantras there, alphabet mantras. As a transforming mantras are dissolving into you. So that is the very simple way of the receiving the transmission of the teachings, okay, as a reading transmissions. So please, I'm going to read this. I've been doing this is a long time, and particularly I'm going to doing this for my mom. Usually I do practice. This is special for the mom, and then I do for including all living beings as well. I did a commitment to her, as I will do this prayer until she whole life after life. So this is the heart. In the Sutra says it has a lot of wonderful messages there. So which is I'm going to talk about a little bit after transmission. So please continue meditation. Nampada nyambe simje danjo sanje je gomba rumbo je toba cha tiye che do papa se de shi pada mebe shi sarve tiba chim dojo so jare gada ya bara meda ya jana ma ya na suda papa se de shi pada mebe shi sarve tiba chim do sanje da chanjo samba tamje la chanjo lon de ga da ge tiba de jen chum de ni do ya bana za de sa ngo me se jin je gonga ra wan de gelon ja da chi da ju sum je gelon ge de chembo da chanjo samba samba chembo ra do mong bo da thap chi de ge do den de chum de je nyam bur yun de ju ba ka za ba jam bu ten ge so nan ji de ne ka yen pa da me ba la so ba shi sha ba shi ye de na de yin she ba da je ma yen do bo sa je se de she pa da me ba shi do na ma nge ba su ji je wo shi je wa shu de se en de je他的今天前不了去的时间，那就去向对岸多，人家不是现在就把女人怎么能跟的也没那么的才 Saya tunggu le selo ja taba kata de da la phaje de maye ban chaba de jamba sinje de khanda tin ji bas le ji ba da me ba de nga ba yo do chaba hi chaba chu je na de ge de wa ye ge de je da me de da ba la de de le bom la ji de je de chin de chaba je da me da du bu dan chang wa na du bu da ji de bu dan chang wa na chaba je ba de ga se yo do so ba de selo ja taba je de jamba sinje de khanda se de ji ba da me ba shi de na ba ge ba su ji je ba sin je de je ba de ba de da ya se ya be wan jo ro sin je khanda se se ga sin je do na se ya na ba wan jo Jambara dia tawana reji poma sera wanda bata yinji ba sepa na meba dia sen jata jiba nyen tama yigin jona teta kala yen tina leban jiba teta kawa nama banga apara mata ayen jina sabi ni shetsa tata ya tata kata ara da samya sambada ya tiya ta punya maha punya apara mata punya jina sambara bat Oma sawa sangare para kita dama na kanga samya kata sabha migine maha ni para wari sawa jaba di jiba sen jaba jata teta jiba teta la kala yigin jata jiba wala tena chama jiba loba jiba se jiba sera jata ma jita tena she bina di jiba se pada meba sanji shan jiten kanga jita pada meba la sabha jiba jina nama apara mata ayen jina sabi ni shetsa tata ya tata kata Arahati samaya sambudaya dhyata punaya punaya maha punaya paramata punaya paramata punaya jina samparavata amasawa sangare parahita dhamata gavata samangata sumambayina mahane paravari so yante sanya savata gujita gopajita anjita sayi padame padame sosa namabaga aparamata ayanjina sabenda jita dharata yata tangata arata sambudaya dhyata punaya punaya maha punaya aparamata punaya jina samparavata amasawa sangare parahita dhamata gavata samangata sumambayina mahane paravari Yandia de Sajavata Jesus Gumajina and the City Padama, the Sonda, Namabana, Angel, 7 hit the Nanga art the same somebody and the Punab and the Mahabana, Paramada, some other Umasawa Sangra Paraka, the Mananga, the Samanga, so I'm being a man and Paravare, so Yandia de Sajaso. Dinju Sadin Gumajina and the City Padama, the Sons on Namabana, Angel, 7 hit the Nanga, somebody at the Punab and the Mahabana, Paramada, some other Umasawa Sangra Paraka, the Mananga, some of the Soviet man and Paravares. Yandia de Sanjavata to just Gumajin and just say, even though the Sons on Namabana, Angel, 7 hit the Nanga, somebody at the Mahabana, Paramada, some other Umasawa Sangre Paraka, the Mananga, Samanga, Swami in the man and Paravare, so Yandia de Sanjavata, just say, even though the Sons on Namabana, Angel, 7 hit the Nanga. Arada samya sambudaya dhyata punaya punaya maha punaya paramada punaya jita sambaravata namasawa sangare parayita namanaka samangata sumambayina mahaniya paravari sowa yantiya dhyata sanya savata yusanga kumbhajina yanja sayi padamumudana sosa namamangata punaya jita sabendata jindra yata tangata arada sambudaya dhyata punaya punaya maha punaya paramada punaya jita sambaravata namasawa sangare parayita namata Gangara Samangata Swamigina Mania Paravari, so I am dead, the Sanya Zota, Mr. Gojing, and say, Hippodam, the Sons on the Iron 7 years, the art, some day the other Punapana, Aparam, the Pune. Punajan Sumbarava, the Thomas Sangre, the Mananga, Samangata Swamigina Mania Paravari, so I am dead, the Sanya Zota, you can go and say, Hippodam, the Sons on the Iron 7 years, the art, some day the other Punapana, Aparam, the Pune. Punajan Sambaravata Namasa Sangre Parakita, the Mananga, the Mania, Paravari, so I am the Sanya Zota, using Trema Kangalong, Mujin said he wanted to son of I know 7 the someday, the Panama, Abaramada, Samarava, Sangre Parakita, the Mananga, Paravari, so I can just say, Hippodamon, then you can tell you can say, but several gentlemen say, I'm not going to none of Amana, so somebody, the Panama, the Abaramada, Samarava, Sangre Parakita, the Mananga, some of those who are making the money, Paravari, so. Yesterday, he put them in the chicken town, you can join out there, and you know what the solution is in the German, the kind of the children, you do kind of the children, you want to enjoy. No, I knew so in the day, and I got some day at the Panama, the Mob, Abaram, the Penny. When the general somebody was the Mother sang at the break, the Mananga song in the money, but what is so what I say, even though the day you can enjoy, not she moved in, you can enjoy your own, no, I knew some day, and I got some day at the Panama, the Mob, Abaram, the Penny. Musa Sangre Paraka, the Mananga, Samanga, so in Mani, Paravare, so I say, even though they can make it enjoy, not she didn't move it, I don't know what you know, I knew 7 days, and some day, and the Banab and the Mob and Abaram, the Penny. When the General Samara, the Musa Sangre Paraka, the Mananga, so in Mani, Paravare, so I can say, even though you can say that some of us, when you don't enjoy on the moment, I knew some day, and some day, the Banab and the Mob, Abaram, the Penny, and some of us. Umasawa Sangre Parakita, the Mananga, some of the Super in the Mani, Paravar, so I can say, you want to read and you're not dead, you were red, you enjoy on the one I knew 7 days, and some day, the other Panama, Aparamabane. Somebody was the Thomas was angry about it, the Mangas, in money, but what is so I can even though the region, the region, the symbol line, but not there, John Lanya, but major on the woman, the 9 7 days. The other one, the mob, and the Benjamin, so what was the mother was angry about it, the Mananga, some of the money, but what is so I can you say, even though they're going to be good, you're not the Chibet Sanchez, or try with them wasn't on the Sanchez, don't get that charge when you're Sanchez. Robert Jones of Joe, the Latism, the Sumnia, the Union, the Yano, one angel, some of the others, some of the Benjamin, the some of the Sang of the break, the one of the money, but what is so I said, even though they get a job to be. Chigenda Yesua, the Java, Pepper and Jordan, no, the angel, seven, the other, somebody, the Benjamin, Abram, the Penna, some of the Sang of the break, the money, also in money, but what is so I said, he bought them, then they again doing it, and you over Sanjay, using Condoji in Joe. No about the nine, seven, some of the other, but the mob, Abram, the Penna, some of the Sang of the break, the one of the money, but what is over Sajo Condo, Condo, then the Conjo did the Sajo, and Children, the judge over Joe, so John Guinness, John Sat. The Lam, the double Joe, the other, the long end was one buzz of Sanjo and Joran, the one angel, some of the other, some of the other, but the mob, Abram, the Penna, some of the Sang of the break. The Matagaga, some of the so in the man, and Barawas of Acarya said, even though they get to it, they be made and show me a number of one angel, some of the other, some of the other, the benefit of Abram, the Penna, so was Sang of the break. So one big in the man, but what is our kind of like his children, and they check us up and Jimba China, they don't want you don't you think of nothing else. I can't Jimba Chimjuran, one angel, so they think of the mob. Punna Benjamin Samaro, some of the Sang of the Mananga, some of the money, but what is our kind of like the children under the Chibajo, the Tabeja, the Chibajo, Joran, one angel, so the other, the mob, Abram. Punjana Sombara Bosset, almost our sang of the break of the Mananga, some with money, but one is one that the Venadation number 6, the Sudu, the Tamje Chodan, what is the Sedo, the Osu, the Shaja Topal, but not then. Chobana Japan Joson and Japumos and Etawa, Nija said, a bottom of the Son and Japumos said, oh, the no, I just saw that, and I got the then just about what some of the Sang of the break of the Mananga, some of the money and borrowers, so one day they went out with Japumbo, just upon the Jimba Jimba, Son Japumos and Etawani said, you must on Japumos and we don't know what I just saw that. The other one, the Mabana, but some of the Sang of the break of the Mananga, the Sang of the money, but one is so on the other band, just to be showing also come with table and one digit say, you bought the members. So the Japon was at that tower, Miss Anova, and you know, seven, they had done it, and I've been the Mabana, the Banyas, or the mother of the money, but what is so long, I said, you want to do you not did that. Jabba 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 Soja, Jabba the Soju Sanjay, Tamje, the Jin Tam, Jinja, the Jiva Tamje, Charge of the Shabba Jabba Jabba. Jabba Jabba, you know, one I use some of the Abram of the Benjas, or the mother of the man. Someone got the Sababa Biki the Mane, Abara, warrior, so Jibeto Sanjay and Avami, Singing Jibeto, Indian, you want a Jibeto, and about your Sudum to Sanjay and Avami, Singing Sudum to the Indian to Sudum to Jiran and about you, Sabeto, Sanjay and Avami, Singing Sabeto, and Indian you want to Sabeto. And about you to do to Sanjay and Avami, Singing to the Indian to you want to do to Jiran, and about your Sanjay to Sanjay and Avami, and Sunday to hear up to Sanjay and Avami. She does the Jeran Tavasho, number one, you know, some of the other Abram of the Benjas about some of the break that the one also with the money, but what is over Jim did. Yes, they get a cut and jumper in the Shiva Tam Jetta, the Macorte, the Ladam, the Lama, and the Jimmy, the Chum, the Sumba long, but third or power stay. They watch him and those also the land, your shepherd trimbush do now, you then dig it. Barakan Chimbe, the zone, the Burman. Meshibalada de Teenage that I get you go Tamji and Joa Mivesel. Want over a George, Sonam de Tamji Zivai. Sonani Vedana by Jagana Yavala Tawai, Sivesel and over show. Yawandi and Yoda, the Sebamingo, Houghton Dujan and Tawachi Malif. The Salango Barasho. Jawa Gondo Yanda Lama Danda Mi Chuje Bala Long Juje Sada Lam Jeye De Rabzon De Dorje Changye Gomba Nyor Do Sho Changju Senjo Rinpo Che Maje Panam Jire Che Jiba Nyamba Mebai Konde Kondo Bewa Sho. Okay, thank you. So now maybe we can discuss about this some, usually here most of them keep repeating again and again, but some are in the sutra, and of course in the Buddhist tradition there is a wonderful tradition, a recitation of the sutras, which has been long time and still we do, but we do most of the time. But sometimes we forgot those value, most of the time now. Now it's a very sometimes difficult certain things, but it's nice to read sutras too. As traditionally we read all the Buddha's scriptures actually traditionally read all the time, for families, so for the benefit for living beings, for the families, and so on. We used to do. I still do some, but very, very rare now. And also not just the reading part, transmission, but in the traditionally Buddhism, we have a transmission, which is called the transmission, unbroken blessing, come from the Buddha's time, from the Buddha's student, from to until now. So those transmissions are so important. Reading transmission, which is keeps the continue kind of the blessing, the person to the person, unbroken lineage. That's called the unbroken lineage. There's many definition unbroken lineage there, but one of the like for the transmission is unbroken. Every teaching is supposed to be there is a the transmission should be there, but nowadays quite a bit I don't know, whatever we can excuse different things, but there's nothing really a good reason there. So it's very, as a practitioner, as a follower of the Buddha, it's so important, in our, just reminding my, friends always, as a Buddha's teaching, that's very important. First, receive transmission, then receive the teachings, the second one. Then third is the practice. After receives transmission, teaching, then practice. And then Vajrayana is receive transmission and receive empowerment. And Vajrayana first they do empowerment, then transmission, then teachings. Let's go together. Yes, that's what they do. It's so important as a real traditionally great masters. Those are those who knows the very value of the Buddha. They do very well. Many times we nowadays forget, especially in the coming in the West, we do very fast one, and I don't know how much we totally really receiving blessing or not. We are missing a lot of essence part of there, so whatever. So I'm still kind of keeping as possible, and if I don't have myself, I ask other teachers that receive some transmissions and teachings as possible. Really, really important nowadays. It's quite a bit those values we forgot. We become a kind of spiritual practitioner is more interest something else. As a spiritual teachers and practitioners supposed to be more interested to the Buddha Dharma, transmission, teaching, practice, the empowerment. Those are so important, That's all really, it's a very wonderful gift and wonderful wealth. Of course, I'm not saying wealth, external wealth is so important, but not that important as a practitioner, as a spiritual practitioner. It's not that important. No. So I'm concerned a little bit sometimes. Our old friends and us, lamas and whoever, they are so interested to the building, so many, so much interest to building and statue, stepa, and so on, which is wonderful, nothing wrong. But we are putting all the energy there. We don't have energy for the study, not transmission, not teachings, so not practices. So that is very, very, it will teaching will dissolve anytime. Very fast it will dissolve. Then become a just external there. That doesn't help you much, right? As we know very much. Very, very, that doesn't give you our education. No. It's wonderful to have monastery, why not? But that doesn't give us education, going to monastery. Enter into monastery, they give us meditation? No. They give us medicine? No. Only give us the monastery who is there personally, give their teachings. Then we educated ourselves, So therefore, also I'm just remind ourselves, becoming, be kind of more mindful, whatever, really. Or we cannot do as like a Milarepa did. That's sometimes it's possible, but it's very too much for us ordinary, like myself. It's a really very marvelous what he did, but it's which is very rare now, but nobody can dedicate that way. His life is totally dedicated, anything, nothing else. As you read the life story of Milarepa, how much he offered, his students offered to him, including the wealth and the monasteries and so on. He never accepted at all. He says, I'm fine, I don't need it. I'm just going next mountain. But he never denied for the teachings. He always give teaching, and then he says, now go practice. So therefore I'm trying to, what in sense we ourselves, including myself, we need a little bit focus into the really more, as you all know, the value of education, So I don't have to say, you all educated people, so much more than me and is educated. But I'm a little bit educated in the Buddha Dharma way, Or that's I can say competently, I maybe a little bit more I hear than you, possible. But yeah, but other than you all educated, so the value. We lost that nowadays, particularly Tibetan lamas are quite a bit do not understanding the education part. Really, it's very, very scares me sometimes. I'm in more than 50 years old, I just says now how they do it, what's they're interested. Are they interested only for the money, only for the wealth thing to do, or they're really interested in Dharma? No, it's very, very rare. It really scares me after that sometimes. Well, in this world, how many wealthy people? There's nothing to surprise. We know that, which is wonderful, Like for example, for symbol like this, the Sutra of Buddha Amitayus. How many people knows there is a Amitayus Sutras? How many people know there is a transmission, the teachings? No. If I do not tell you, how do you know? Not possible, right? It's impossible. If some teacher didn't tell me the great I value for the teacher, everybody respect, and especially those who are respect more, those who sees, hey, this is valuable. This is important. Skip it and give it somebody else. So that's why to remind ourselves, whether it's a teaching, whether it's a transformation, that we must go and receive it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be only one way, Every traditional doesn't matter. The person, he or her, if they are educated very well, that doesn't really matter. So let's starting our educating ourselves here. What does Buddha Shakyamuni, his own word, it is the Buddha Amitayus Sutras, this is Mahayana Sutras. It's called the, Mahayana tradition of the Amitayus Sutras. No. So this is Buddha taught into the Nyingyu, the Tibetan word called the Nyingyu, Sharavasti, where's the Buddha's in the holy place in Sharavasti, where we have a different kind of monastery, there temples, Also in the taught in Sharavasti, there's a lot of bodhisattvas and bodhisattva and everybody there. Then Buddha taught these sutras. And this says, Buddha says, generally life is very short. Most people does not live more than 100 years, less than 100 years. Life is short. Buddha said, even though life is short, most of there's uncertainty of life. There's untimely death. There's a lot of death. Mostly death is the young people. We say older people die. No, younger people die much faster than due to different conditions. Different behaviors, different things, unhealthy and so on, including the accidents. So on, there's different things happen. The Buddha says here, very untimely death. So, so therefore Buddha says this sutra, somebody as traditionally as writes, readings in the sutras, they used to do, they were the reading, writings, they do. And somebody read, it can be very benefit. Or somebody sutra keeping at home as an offering, as an altar, as an home, that will be very, very benefit. And we can, in a home, do all the incense, candle, so on all these offerings. It's nice to do that way. So therefore, on the Tibetan tradition, we keep all the Buddha Sutra in the altar, or keep and make kind of candlelight and incense and so on. Not just keeping an altar that has to read it, it's not for the in the altar to keep. Most of we have also habit too. Sometimes keeping an altar, never read it. I myself has a lots of book in India. I love reading book and buying book. So I haven't read almost my book, half of them no read at all. Half of them never touched it. I like the book read. It bored it, when I buy a book, it's kind of habit. I never look at how much pocket money there. I just buy how much this is. Doesn't matter. I never counted this. Then I think about it that I have good intention to read it, but never happened that. But that does not mean I'm not reading other things, I don't reading. So I should have more, like including Gambuba's tags, Marpa's tags, and the Pamutuba's tags, including our lineage and other lineage as well, including the Nyingma lineage tags I bought since I received teaching. A lot of bunch there. It's just, when available books are there actually. So he says, read it, the offering back. It says in the sutra, if somebody hearing the sutras, so that will help to our increase our life, and decrease our own obstacles. That's the purpose of reading, transmission, and sutras as well. Say Java to say a number of Java, the region was sent you sent the dark horse. Then I will explain later the mantra, long one later. Okay. You can do you live on a chin that you will say you were 7 centuries, father never and Juros, and then says the beneficial of the reading sutras, and then it will, to rebirth and a better pure land, better life, another life after life, the beneficial of the sutras readings. Oh, yeah, you say about the song source. So this this sutra is not just only one Buddha Shakyamuni. There's many previous Buddha also mentioned about this Buddha Amitayus sutras. That's what I reading here. I wrote here. It says, and the Sanjay Guju Sajugum says you know the song source. Also, then Sanjay Savar Guju Zaguma saying the song so. Sanjay Savar Guju Zagum saying the song so. Sanjay Savar Guju saying the song so. Yang Jigga said about the songs, and the Sanjay Guju saying the songs. Kumbojan saying the song so. Can you them the you can do you can set with Cello Jet say a number of euro. Okay. He said he was again the Sinjin so Shinjin and the German Major that says here to protecting from the life after, protecting rebirth into the lower realms, including health, animal realms, that have a better realms, in a better human form has a more precious opportunity, not just that. This is very important message here. Rebirth in the pure land, rebirth in the human form, like which has all opportunity, opportunity for practice. That's important. Just rebirth in a precious human life. There's a lot of people doesn't have their time for that, That's very important. Even not just us. Now this is including the monks and nuns are too so busy. I don't know what they're busy for what. They're supposed to be busy for the Dharma, study, practice, meditation. No, they're more distracted. Now, of course, an ordinary life is different. We have to work for the every day is take care, all the every month bill, which we call the bills are coming, each mail so often, so it's not easy, Not just that, through benefiting the sutra, and then you remember all the lives, life after life, remembers what was my previous life, what was my going to be future lives. So beneficial of the recitation of sutras.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yes.
I've heard that, of course, said many times about seeing previous lives and so on. And my thought about that, my experience with that is that to be able to know that Lance lived 150 years ago, or that I lived 532 years ago, and that I had a job doing this, or I was doing that, or something like that. It seems very difficult to me to be able to know that, to be able to experience that. But I think it's more practical, at least where I am now, to recognize that humankind, that sentient beings have been living for such a long time, and that we share in the same experiences, and that we can visualize ourselves, we can visualize other beings who lived 150 years ago and what it was like, and be able to empathize with them, to recognize that, oh, that's part of the human experience, or 252 years ago, or 1,000 years ago, and so on. So it's through that, it's through what I would call the interpersonal And being able to say, okay, I'm a person here living now, but there's other people who have lived in the past and so on. And I can empathize, I can recognize what they are going through. And that to me is the way of recognizing past lives. It's not a literal recognizing past lives, it's more practical recognizing it through the experience of being a human being. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or is it very literal?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Is it literal? Is it supposed to be literal?
So life is, of course, it's, the Buddhism generally, life is never ends.
Yes.
It is, life just go on and on and on. Never ends. And is our transforming the body is only into this, as some philosophy, just most of the Tibetan Buddhism, the body transforms, So the consciousness continue remain that everything's what's going on there. This life and next life moves on, that the bhaksha, the tendencies there, whether it is good or whether it is bad.
Is it as Lance
Yeah.
or Lama Gursam or anybody else here, or is it as Buddha Amitayus? The Buddha Amitayus is the Buddha of this immortality that never dies.
Yes, that's the true ways to understanding. When we do not realizing is lens.
Or we're not realizing.
Yes. Okay. When we're realizing Buddha Amitayus, it's not the lens.
That's right.
It's the Dharmakaya.
So it's through that
Right.
that we are experiencing past lives.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Not to look at it as Lance,
Right.
but as the Dharmakaya, which
Right.
never dies, never born.
Right.
And then through that, we experience life of being a human being.
Right.
So it's not a literal.
No. It's more than that, actually.
Is that the connection? In other words, that we're connected to Dharmakaya that connects us to a previous experience through Dharmakaya.
That's right. Everything actually is the Dharmakaya, the fundamental point of view, the original point of view of the Dharma and the Vajrayana, as a Sutrayana too, this is the one way we call the Buddha nature, okay? Buddha nature is the Dharmakaya, it's not the separate, the potential. So that potential, the basis of the potential, there is a lot of things come from there, So an ordinary, as for us, we do not experience that potential. Whatever appearance is there, we see this is the real there.
We think so.
Yes. We confuse that. So that's what we call it. We confuse when we follow these perceptions. So go on and on there. We never ever touch the here. When we touch the here, it doesn't really do much about it. It's just a manifestation of the Dharmakaya, manifestation of the Buddha nature. There's nothing there. Nothing differences. So therefore, we're going back to the same place that we realize. When we are, what it says here, the Dharmakaya here, the Buddha nature, the potential, then there is the path of meditation, now we see is a difference, it's two different things there. Okay, then rises from the Dharmakaya, from the Buddha nature, all the things, whether it is good or bad perception or good and thoughts, whatever it is, it rises from here. But we don't have to experience that. We grab here the perception part. So we are confused there, so then we'll continue there. You know? So when we go back, understanding, when we have a kind of path of meditation, the practice part, as long as the practice part is there, so then this is goes to the more clear and clear and clear. Then we ordinary person sees is something happening new for me. Actually, it's nothing new actually. It's already there. The quality is there. It's just right, it's just experience, it's just realizing it. It's there. So therefore, the Uttara Tantra Sutra, whatever you call the Uttara Tantra Buddha's teaching, the Buddha Maitriya's teaching, or the king of the sutras that says that the example for person is very poor. Like for example, person is really poor, but the person, he or she, where they live under their gold, they have lots of gold under there, but they do not experience it. They do not know about they have a gold. They are struggling with everything. And somebody will tell you, no, you don't have to worry about it. You have all the gold underground yourself. You have to just dig it. You just open it. You see it. Then they realize it. So that is actually talking about it. You know, the how.
When I was about 8 years old, I had these powerful visions of being in a monastery as a young guy in dark maroon robes in a dry, mountainous, deserty area, and going through my life in some of these experiences, very vivid. And when I met Lama Dawa Chodak, I did a mirror divination, and he said I was a monk in a Ladakhi monastery in my previous life, and it was just like what I saw. You know? So I really think there is previous lives.
Yeah, it's something that I have trouble with is the idea sometimes of the past lives and future lives, of like wrapping my head around it, and it's one, it's not an idea that I kind of grew up with. Two, it's a kind of a newer idea as an adult, and also I still have a lot of like the kind of modern, kind of scientific materialist kind of worldview of the conscious. I think a lot of it's built on consciousness coming from the brain or how it relates to the brain, and then for things to cross over from different. It's just like it's difficult for me to have faith in at times. That I struggle with a little bit with the rebirth.
Can we define something important? I think is Buddha Amitayus, because I've seen, here in the text and so on, it's defined as Buddha, a boundless life, which means that it's unlimited life. I would take it to mean that. But I've also seen it written that it's the Buddha of immortality. And are they both the same thing? And here it says, boundless life, principal guide of this world, who saves all sentient beings from untimely death. So to me, this means that there is, to use the word consciousness, that there is this Buddha Amitayus consciousness that does not die, this indestructibility, and that's what we're kind of tuning into. And then through that, we're having all this experience as a human being, or I guess possibly as other sentient beings, as animals or insects or something like that. Some of us might have affinities for certain animals. Maybe we were born, or we vibrated that. We recognize that. So could you comment on that? The point, the definition of immortality, of long life, of what did I say here? Boundless life, etc. In terms of Buddha Amitayus.
Yeah, untimely death. So I think one thing I remember is the life story of Milarepa. The beginning, Milarepa, as ourselves, life story. Milarepa has a very strong fear of death. Very strong. It's not a normal person. It's very unusual. The reason was behind is his life story, going back to his created very strong negative karma, including the killing peoples. So he could not really sleep day or night, and could not eat really happily whatever food he has. So he was so thirsty to meet right teacher who can teach him to understanding what is the death, what is the not death, what is the fear of death, and so on. So therefore, Milarepa realizing after receiving teaching from his root master, Marpa Lotsawa, long time after practice of impermanence and so forth, then Milarepa had the songs and the teaching. It says, says, I was fear of death. I went to the mountains to search, to practices, to let go all the things. So then what Milarepa says, next word, Namchingime Gom Gompes. I meditate and train myself untimely death. Meditation about the untimely. That means I every day meditating. Time is so precious, the precious of time, precious of teachings, so never going to be wasted. So he was working hard, day or night. Then Milarepa says, after that, I realize no more untimely death, the fear of death. He's totally kind of realizing there's nothing such as death and born. Inherently does not exist. So for them, it's just free totally. They can rebirth anywhere they want, or they don't want to be rebirth as the Nirmanakaya form, or they can rebirth as the Sambhokaya form, remain forever for benefit all the time. So that is the level of the mind, subtle mind, when the practice is done, really totally free, So then anything does not matter for him, So that is it's a possible. It's interesting.
Well, that I can relate to that,
Yeah.
more than almost anything else, Not to be fixated on this life or fixated on past life, or fixated on the future life, It's just one. It's the Dharmakaya. It's just all here, and it's the way we perceive it. It's the way we see it. And if we can let go of just being the perceiver and what it is that's perceived, then there is that freedom, there is that liberation, there is that peacefulness, and so on. It comes from that, the samadhi that comes from that. So in other words, the more that we try and investigate this, the more we can drive ourselves to confusions, and if we can meditate to the point of letting go, that's what we're trying to do. That's the liberation that we're talking about.
Yes, that's true. Sometimes it's wonderful to investigate. There's nothing wrong as education, different philosophically and different logics is wonderful. Have wonderful ideas too, but that's very, very limited. Very limited. Certain times we, even in the meditation, we cannot really investigate so much. We can't find anything. We have to be just back to the relax. Back to rest, nature state as possible. From that's what and Milarepa's lineage, Milarepa says, and Gampopa says the same thing. When you remain in that nature state, then it will naturally comes up some things there. It will come up something light or something wisdom rises there. You keep going on, never can find it. So the one word and explains the next word, the next word. But it's so wonderful, but as an academic point of view, when you look at the deeper as education point of view, it's so important sometimes, really. And also we're losing that in the Buddhism too now. Really, very, very rare. Maybe certain great institute in Tibetan Buddhism somewhere possible there, alive that part, but the rest of not. Very, very rare. If you ask one question, very simple, like a four noble truth, how it works, and all this, the 16 aspects of the Four Noble Truths, it's very rare to say. Really.
There is a teaching on the 16 aspects of the Four Noble Truths.
Right.
Yeah.
Four Noble Truths, Dunga sufferings, causes of sufferings, sensation of sufferings, and path of suffering, right? The path of the truth, what I'm trying to say, the truth, truth of the suffering, the truth of the cause of suffering, truth of the cessation, truth of the path, right? So now it has to go with the four like that, each of them. The sufferings, truth of the suffering is a suffering, the Buddha says, number one. No? Oh. Midabada, Dunga, Dameva. Buddha says, suffering of the truth is impermanence. Number one. Okay? Suffering itself is not exist inherently in nature. Itself doesn't last long. Itself is impermanence. But that's very easy to say, but it's nothing. But sometimes we don't even though heard about it, even though we do not say it many times, So suffering itself is impermanent. Vidava, Dungawa. Suffering itself is suffering. Tongba, suffering nature is is empty. Suffering nature is selfless. Selflessness. See, now where is the suffering now? As a philosophically talk that way, it's very, very profound subject, you know. Now has to go with each for truths, truth of causation, truth of the causes of suffering, truth of the cessation, truth of the path. It's very, very interesting to academically learn, you know. But the kind of will quite a bit challenge. You know?
Lance, I think I just went over that in that Tsongkhapa book. Number one about that different, like the truth of the suffering and, you know, explaining those 16 different things. I think that's in there.
That's good, yeah.
He's probably going to give a better explanation than just the book lists things,
Yeah.
but doesn't explain it too much. But at least it's like listed there.
It's very interesting when you love. That's why I mean yesterday. There is a lot of as a meditation. There's a Buddhism is it's very. I'm not saying I'm Buddhism is special. No, when I study for my case, my also individual case is so deep. It's not easy, you know. Really, even the one part of Vajrayana is very much very very. I was so grateful that you know. But they're still alive at some level, you know. But I don't know how much really alive on that real way, you know. It's very, very interesting to like for like sister, like for example, for like a Heart Sutras, you know. It's a very profound teaching, Heart Sutras. I study Heart Sutra special for last year. I try to read a lot of commentary on the Heart Sutra. Everything is wonderful. That's wonderful nothing. But the one I learned from Heart Sutra's explanation about this, Khenchen Tango Rinpoche, one of the Kamakaju's master, he explains, it's amazing.
Who's that?
Tango Rinpoche, it should be.
He just passed away.
He just passed away.
Yeah.
He's
It is very good explanation.
91, I believe so. He just passed away. Very good explanation.
Yeah, very good.
Very simple and very going to the extensions, you know, different ways. Yes, there is a lady philosophy point of view. There's many other things there, you know. Where he explains, it's wonderful. It's a very, I really grateful that to see that, you know.
Does it exist in English? Is it in English?
Possible look at it. Probably they have a lot of students. Maybe probably did it. You can.
I have a question about like practicing the sadhanas, and made me think of it with the Heart Sutra and like the emptiness teaching, where I think in this one too, and in the other sadhanas I've seen, you're starting by visualizing or imagining the deity or whatever coming out of emptiness, and that's so I'm not sure like for me like how to exactly be doing that. When I think of emptiness, it's like, how can you visualize emptiness or something coming out of emptiness? In my limited understanding of emptiness, but it's something kind of non-conceptual or like something lacking some kind of inherent existence or quality like that in different ways I've heard
Can
described.
I offer something?
Please.
I'm sure Lama will
Yeah,
give
yeah.
much better explanation, but just generally, it's the concept to me of thinking about the Big Bang.
Big what?
The Big Bang. You know, they
Oh,
talk
of
about the
course,
Big
yeah,
Bang.
yeah.
What was before the Big Bang? You know, this analogy, this metaphor is emptiness. We don't know. Can we know? We don't know. And that's one of the fundamental things that we as human beings have to come to grips with. And it seems no matter what the scientists try and do to discover what came before this Big Bang, what they call the Big Bang, 20 more questions come up. So it's never a question that gets answered, more questions come up. So the point is that the Big Bang then all of a sudden happens, and now we have all this phenomenal nature that we see and we feel, and life and all this kind of stuff. So that emptiness, the metaphor is that the emptiness is what was before the Big Bang. And it's inconceivable. And we have to let it rest there. You know, we have to experience that emptiness. And that's what the meditation, you know, a huge part of the meditation, that's the teaching of the Mahayana, the middle way, is the realization of the emptiness. That's the fundamental teaching of it. And then being able to rest with that.
Can I ask a question, Lama Gursam?
Mm-hmm.
When I do, and I may, if I'm wrong, correct me, please. When I do the visualization coming out of emptiness, I visualize a clear open sky, just a clear open sky. And there's nothing in the sky, just clear space. Like if you were like a pilot looking out into space above the clouds, kind of, and it's just clear sky. So is that a good way to visualize?
That's good method. That's good. It's good to start that way. Why not?
I would just say our mind is always so busy that emptiness is a matter of trying to throw this out, throw that out, get rid of this. And, you know, 20 years from now, you're still going to be throwing things out to try to be more comfortable with what that emptiness is. Because, you know, it's probably a lifetime's worth of searches to try to figure out what is that emptiness. But, you know, take the victories where you can get it. When you're, you know, when you feel something good and you could relate to that as a form of emptiness, or, you know, like your translation. Yeah, it's just
Wonderful to share all the practitioner. For my emptiness, when I meditation, emptiness is it's very funny, right? So just as intellectually emptiness, everything see as intellectually to understanding interdependence. There's nothing such as existence, and mind immediately to relax on that nature, to see appearance, that empty interdependence, everything. There's nothing such as inherently exist. I relax their mind just as nature state, free from the thoughts as possible. You know, thought as possible, resting nature as long. I think that's what I do. I'm not realizing, pretty sure, you know. Nothing to the most important point is the emptiness. The practice, from my point of view, is not so, whatever it is, not holding anything as possible. You know, emptiness itself should not hold it. Should let go that part too. You know, that's right. No. So person myself has to let go. The person who doing it itself has to let go. And the rest in nature as possible. So then creating kind of generation stage meditation, you know, visualizing the seed, you know, lotus, something like that.
So is what you're saying, when with like one of these sadhanas or generation stage, through with the instruction of visualizing it out of emptiness, you go to that more thoughtless, like free from thought, natural state, and then from that inner place, you'll start to visualize.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense to me more. I think I was interpreting it as like almost you have to have a visualization of emptiness itself that is coming out. I think I was taking it too literally or something, where it's like, how could you possibly have a visualization of, but I mean, I guess the sky thing. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, each person taught today this. It makes sense there.
Yeah.
Certain individually has a comfortable with that, you know. For me, is the most important emptiness is not holding anything. No holding, you know, at all as possible. Just let go, you know, relax. Then after that, each building meditation, the generation stage is so important. That's a much particularly much more powerful than ordinary calm abiding meditation. Actually, you know, it's nothing separable from the calm abiding. You know, some kind of levels of calm abiding, but that is not only calm abiding, that is more than calm abiding. You know, so that is a quality. So there are certain things, you know, each visualization, each visualizing your focus, each step like a lotus, you remain there, mind with the lotus, you know, focus there, very focused there. And then at the same time, it's not just to focus. As a Vajrayana point of view, they needed kind of relax there, okay, resting there. That is so important. Just focus and the relaxing, resting is two differences there. Intellectually it's different, practically it's different there. Okay, and generally calm abiding as a just focusing one thing there, just relax. That's wonderful. There's nothing wrong with that. But that alone doesn't work. You know, that to give you how to, as ordinary people, have a challenge with the focus, which is we do sometimes, you know, although we do have, you know, everybody doesn't know how to focus one thing, has a big challenge myself too, but which is helpful. But in the Vajrayana, not just to focus, at the same time focus and same times resting there, relaxing there. The combination is important. Focus, relax. This two word has to come in a practical way. So then the Kamabhati become as a not Kamabhati. Kamabhati is not so much difference in the inside meditation. That is Kamabhati is more like a Mahamudra blessing, Milarepa lineage that do that way. There's a difference is there. Yeah. And usually Kamabhati that talks a different way, you know. But it's a wonderful, there's nothing wrong. But the Mahamudra point of view, and then Kamabhati is slightly different. Kamabhati is not just Kamabhati. Kamabhati with the nature mind, relax there. So it's the differences there, you know. Sometimes then, and then the beginning it's okay, just Kamabhati, just focusing. And then sometimes it's too much focus in that they're going to be a little bit challenge. Meditator, all long Kamabhati meditator or a personal meditator has a challenge there. They don't know what to do with that. So there is a certain insight techniques there, which is have to be through person who has some experience, their own realization, not just intellectual, the part of that, you know, understanding a little bit. So then it opens a little bit much more, go farther, you know, easy.
There's you think it's possible to get into a dullness by doing calm abiding? I know sometimes when I do calm abiding, my mind gets very dull, and I have to kind of spiff it up. I'm also taking tranquilizers, medicine, you know.
Mm.
It tends to, it's kind of dull and thick on the mind, very unfortunately, you know. But yeah, I just noticed that sometimes there's dullness there.
Yes, yes, that is possible. Yeah, that's we call in the Kamabhati meditation. It's called the Chingwa. That's called the Chingwa. That's the two, the most important in the meditation obstacle there. One is after meditation is going down, kind of deep, like that, then it's going to be kind of sleeping there. So there is a two. One, that's one important. When there comes going like that, that means your focus is not clear. It's very clear. Yeah, focus has to be really clear and vivid as possible. So that is one of the really, but there's a certain step there. I think my knowledge is very limited. But the first is very, in a practical point of view, first is just focus. Doesn't matter whether it is clear, whether it's not clear, not so much important. First is we have to learn how to be focused there. Once we are more experience it, very good with that, easy to, you can focus like here. Now you focus, move into the here, easy to focus. If you move here, your mind goes with there here, easy. Your mind will focus there, easy to just going there. So that much we needed to train. So then after some times, not just enough focus. Focus has to be clear. Salwa is called the clear, and Tangwa is, I don't know how to translate. Tangwa is clear, but still not completely clear. It's more clear, like detail. It's like a water, watery has a beginning water, then water, some beginning water shakes, it's some dust there. Then the water moves, without the moving water goes, everybody relax. Then you can see inside totally clear when you look at like for example, it's very good with glasses, like pure glasses. Put in the water there. Soon as water put there, it's not clear. All the bubbles and so many things there. But the point is here, first focus there. So then after focus, sometimes very well done, train well enough for maybe few days, few weeks, few months, no problem focusing. Like for example, first, back to the meditation time, you easily focus. No, not so much disturbance. So then working with clear now. Clear, there's clear means, which is what happened is when you meditate, then it's going like that. Not immediately shut down, the body is a little bit shrinks. Then your breathing shrinks there, slow. Then project of the focus is really shrinks, they're not so clear like that. No? It's like a space, some cloud or some kind of things comes out there. For that time, that you have to learn how to make clear and clarity to that's important. Then there's sometimes mind chasing out. That's one of the certain techniques there to make it. Because of the reason is sometimes focus is too focus. So therefore mind goes up there, somewhere else, run away. Have to be very gentle, it's there. Always, I would say first, the teachings describes different ways. I think it can be both side is possible, you know. Teaching says real focus there. And I notice here in particular our ordinary life, in this lifetime, that doesn't really work. Doesn't really work that way. But there makes sense there, you know. So therefore, first I notice is myself, I always telling them is relax rather than focusing. Because we have a challenge for the relaxing part. You know, when you realize, then you can a little bit kind of focus more there, you know. So in order to relaxing, you have to relax the body, relaxing the breathing, relaxing your mind wherever you're focusing. So when the focus time, you don't have to really judge it actually. This is the black, white, this and that. No, at all. Better not do it that way. Beginning, no, that doesn't work. Beginning just focuses. Don't worry about anything. See how far you can, how long you can focus there. And relax again. Or sometimes focus outside, sometimes focus more in. You are breathing with the breathing. Or like for example, for this, with the Amitayus, level 3, here, focus there, relax. I think you can see it, level 3 in your mind. I know if I say that, somebody, they say I'm crazy. If I say that way. Those people never meditate, they think about, these people are crazy, what they're talking about. No, it's not like that actually. You will see it very clear, you know. Then it doesn't take long either. Depends how you practice it, you know. Whether he, whether she, whether she, whatever place levels, immediately very. So your intention of the body, speech, the energy, the wind, the mind, everything goes with the celebrity.
Cheers. This is a technical question about doing sadhanas. When you visualize the mandala, the palace, the mandala, the deity, and so forth, is the entire universe contained in the mandala? Okay, thank you.
That's right. Yeah.
Because I used to think it was like the mandala was in the universe outside of it, then I realized it should be encompassing the whole thing.
Right, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. 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 Yes, please.
I just was able to, I do a Chenrezig practice, and it says about the syllable, the seed syllable tree.
Right there.
And so I'm starting to actually like visualize it, because I really like, like acted like I was writing it and be able to like know what shape and form it was.
Right.
So my question is like, it's on that card and on the base. So I visualize it as it's like, as it's looking at me. And is that how I'm supposed to like hold it in my mind, other than that it's this way? In other words, if I turn it around, because to me it's easier this way than when it's almost like backwards.
You mean this way, like this?
Yeah. In other words, like
Or
I
like this,
visualize it
that.
like it's like this. You know, I visualize it like it's this rather than the form of it is this way. In other words, that it's pointing to the wall rather than towards the street.
Okay.
For me to have the mantra circle and
Are you talking about the street?
the shri.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about,
No,
the
just
Buddha.
the actual shri, because it says, you know, visualize
Oh,
the
I see.
shri and then the mantra circles.
Oh, I see, I see.
I visualize facing out.
You know, it's supposed to face like
Right.
that way or that way. Because, you know, like this is how I see it. So that's how I think of it.
I look at it like a flame. A flame is radiating in all directions simultaneously, right?
Yeah.
Actually, the most of the time Vajrayana is the syllable is like this way, you know, facing right,
Facing toward the
Towards-
world.
right. So it's the world. And then the Vajrayana teaching sometimes facing in there too, possible. But usually most of the time is facing the syllable here, and then syllable facing you do, then mantras goes that way, you know.
I'm just happy I can even remember what it looks like.
Right.
And I think once I really become stable with that, then I can turn it this way. But, and does it matter how like large I think about it? Because one time I was doing meditation and it seemed like the top of the loop was over my head and that it was across my shoulder and then like through that it was like my whole body kind of was shriek.
Yeah, one Sri, and then it manifests many Sri is possible sometimes, you know. But usually they say Sri is more smaller as possible, just not too, you know, too big. Yeah. Sometimes too big, and then our concentration lose that, you know. So in the too small, then again here the karma, for example, not really karma abiding, then kind of our shrinks there, you know. But then, and it depends on the practitioner, really. If you're well done in a long time as a practitioner, then it's really smaller as possible, like a really tiny, like it's like a needle size, you know, very small needle size syllable tree, you know. Very clear. Then sometimes a little bit big size, like this size, you know. Then again back to the small. I think meditator is nice to play with that actually. It's very, so you can see how our mind is sharp. You know, it's possible. Mind, the memory is very, very sharp. You can do it that. That's why they say great master has a whole mandala of like a chakra samvara or Vajra Yoga. They can meditate completely clear, very detailed. They're so well done, you know. Each details, each thing, each forms. It's very, very good. It's a very, very wonderful meditation actually. But just playing with the syllable C most of the time, seed is very good. C focus there, you know.
Yeah, because when I was first able to stabilize that in my practice, and then it became this large thing.
Right.
The mantra, I felt like my body was a prayer wheel. And that was just like a profound concept that I don't always need it to be that big. But I just thought that was important for me to think of it that way, that even though it's small, that kind of, you know, I'm like a human prayer wheel.
Let's spin you around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Meditators can see it.
Concept, yeah.
Meditator can see it. That very, the very inside eye inside you can see the clear, particular we do sometimes it's a long practice meditation. Beginning I thought that people have a hard time. Sometimes then we keep practicing again. You can see it that the center channel very clear, very it's possible, So then once we are stable, established very, very well, then doesn't matter. As small, bigger size, and doesn't have much needed effort. Soon as we read, like it says, like it's meditation, it says, oh, now meditation is level 3. So, immediately. Doesn't take long. No? Okay, now thank you, everybody. Now we can
Thank you.
get the dedication.
Short dedication, the Daikoma prayer,
Please.
whatever book you have.
Page 32, maybe.
32,
32 in the
page,
yellow
page
book.
20, whichever one. By the virtues collected 3 times by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root virtues, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Trikumbha Ratnashri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. Om.
Bendra Baba Ma Samaya Sadho.
Thank you very much, Lama Gursam.
Thank you too.
So we're going to take a lunch break now for 2 hours. So
Right.
we'll start another session of Zoom in 2 hours. I'm going to turn this off now, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.